Hello, hello, hello. It's me, Kenny Polcari, your host of the party. Today is Friday, October 29th, 2021. And where am I today? I'm actually in beautiful San Diego, California. It is absolutely spectacular here. The weather could not be more than perfect, both day and night. In any event, what is it that we need to know today? What's going on? So by now you've heard Apple and Amazon reported underwhelming results, and the markets had turned lower in the pre-market, but have since now kind of rebalanced and turned up. At least the Dow has. Home sales plunge much more than expected. Chevron and ExxonMobil report earnings and handily beat all the estimates. The ECB leaves monetary policy unchanged, now asking, what will Jay do? And what are we having for dinner tonight? Well, we're going to try the stuffed chicken cutlets, but we'll get to that in a minute. The U.S. economy grew by only 2% in the third quarter, less than the expected 2.8%. Pending home sales fell by 2.3% month over month and by 7.2% year over year. Much weaker numbers than what investors expected. And then Joey went to Capitol Hill to present his revamped $1.85 trillion spending plan that was designed to accompany the $1 trillion infrastructure plan that has been held up by the House and the left wing of the Democratic Party, as they have demanded that we spend at least $3.5 trillion. Otherwise, they're going to continue to hamper all efforts to move forward. Although this morning we're hearing that maybe they've reconsidered their stance and they might be starting to support the language in the latest version, but that's not confirmed. Yesterday at about 2 p.m., we heard from Nancy, who told us that the new spending bill was just remarkable. All while Zucky announced a name change for Facebook, now known as Meta. The name change precedes a symbol change that will take place in December, so Facebook now becomes MRVS, which stands for Metaverse. Investors remained excited as stocks continued to advance. Generations Y and Z couldn't stop giggling with excitement over the new opportunities that Metaverse is going to create. This virtual world where you can play with your friends and give yourself a makeover. You can become a cartoon character or an animal. You can become a robot. You can even become a rock if you want. In the end, you can be anything you want and look any way you want, all within the confines of your bedroom, never having to go outside, never having to socialize in the real world, never having to be, only adding to the rising level of isolation and anxiety that already exists that so many people feel. Metaverse, or Facebook, rose 1.5% on the news, while everyone and their brother commented on what the news means to them. From the spending side, Congress did not appear to be rolling over with excitement, although you wouldn't know that if you listened to Nancy, right? She told you everything is remarkable, it's just wonderful. Yet stocks managed to go higher as we got better than expected earnings reports that left investors yearning for even more. And then it was all the excitement about Amazon and Apple earnings that were coming out after the bell kept everybody on the edge of their seats as the clock ticked down. By the end of the day, the Dow rose 240 points or 0.7%. The S&P rose 45 points or 1%. The Nasdaq gained 212 or 1.5%. The Russell added 45 points or 2%, and the transports rose 200 points or 1.25%. And then the clock ticked. Both Amazon and Apple reported underwhelming results and disappointing forward guidance. Both missed the estimates, which is really beyond me. I mean, it almost doesn't make sense to me, right? The way analysts release their estimates, all to make sure that they've underestimated in order to give that better than expected result, euphoria and excitement. I mean, think about it for 1 minute. Of all the earnings reports to miss, they miss on Amazon and Apple. All right, whatever. I'll go with that this morning. Both the stocks are down, right? Amazon was down 4.5%. Apple's down 3.5%. All in the pre-market session. They're weaker as the day gets started. And this is creating, or was creating, angst in the markets. Like I said, the Dow is now since turned positive. And the other thing that's causing angst in the markets is the idea that inflation is only getting worse. And that's causing bond market yields to fall, all while the Fed is set to announce the start of tapering next week, which will take support away from the markets as investors ponder what is going to happen with interest rates. Because remember, one does not necessarily connect to the other. They are mutually exclusive. And this morning, U.S. futures were down in the pre-market as the pundits put the blame squarely on Amazon and Apple. And when you have this weakness, then expect to have the media highlight even more concern to highlight More concerns ahead for investors that's going to cast a pall over the markets today, the final day of trading in October. But unless they really ramp up the negatives, October is actually going to go down as one of the greatest months this year of the markets. The Dow so far, as of this morning, is up 5.6% month to date. The S&P up 6.7%, the Nasdaq up 6.9%, and the Russell is up 3% all year to date. Really an incredible monthly performance. The 10-year Treasury's yielding 1.59%, and oil's trading at 83.10 a barrel. No real change. We're going to get another handful of earnings all day today. We've already heard from Chevron, Weyerhaeuser, Colgate, Charter, Newell, AbbVie, and LHX, and they have all beaten the estimates. Eco data today includes personal income expected to be down 0.3%, personal spending up 0.6%, and the University of Michigan sentiment survey of 71.4. It actually came in at 71.7, while their one-year inflation expectation is running at 4.8%, and the 5 years expected to run at 2.8%. Again, a 5-year inflation number is a number I think is useless, but they publish it, they make a big deal of it. I'm just telling you. European markets are all lower this morning as well. Inflation in the Eurozone rose to 4.1% in October, hitting a 13-year high. This after the ECB left interest rates and monetary policy unchanged. Christine Lagarde playing down the chances of a rate hike in 2022, which also doesn't really appear to be realistic. But maybe she's also trying to control the reaction and the narrative no matter what the market is suggesting is going to happen. Right? At 8 o'clock this morning, all European markets were off by about 0.5%. Bitcoin not doing anything overnight, trading at 60,000, while Ethereum did rally to 4,300. The S&P ended the day at 45.96, and if futures action suggests any indication, we can expect a mild pullback as investors digest all the news from yesterday and the last day of trading in October, right? So some small window dressing stuff going on. We remain in the 4,400, 4,700 trading range. Anything within there is considered well within the normal range. Nothing to get excited about. Remember, you can text the word invest to 21,000 on your cell phone to get my digital business card. Feel free to download it. Send me off an email or a text. I'm always happy to engage and talk about markets, planning, strategies, trading, stocks, thoughts, concerns, or other ideas you might have. And you know you can always follow me on Twitter and TikTok at Kenny Polcari, and on Instagram at KennyP1961. So what are we doing for dinner tonight? It's the stuffed chicken cutlets, right? Stuffed chicken cutlets are very versatile. You can stuff it and roll it with anything you really like, right? It always comes out great. It's really difficult to screw it up. But today, we're going to try this one, right? And I've done a couple of other ones. You know, I do a lot of other ones, but today we're going to try this one. So for this, you're going to need thin sliced chicken cutlets, 2 cups of sauteed spinach, grated pecorino romano cheese or parmigiana cheese, whatever you have, thinly sliced pancetta, salt and pepper, olive oil, garlic, which you want peeled and sliced. You want chicken broth, dry white wine, butter, and some flour. You want to saute the fresh spinach in a bit of garlic oil, garlic and olive oil, and season it lightly, very lightly. Then put it aside once you've sauteed it. Lay the cutlets out on lay them out flat on wax paper. Season them with salt and pepper. Now take the spinach, divide it amongst the 8 cutlets, and careful not to overstuff, leaving little space just along the sides. Sprinkle a tablespoon of the cheese on top of the spinach, on top of that you've put on each cutlet. Now you're going to get ready to roll it, right? So starting at the end, you're going to tightly roll the cutlet. You want to wrap the pancetta around the chicken and then put a toothpick through it. So you pinch the pancetta around the cutlet, then you close the cutlet up, right? If it's a big cutlet, you might need 2 pieces of pancetta and then a couple of toothpicks, right? You can always choose as you're doing it, right? You can see how it goes, not a big deal. Now in a large heavy bottom skillet, add some olive oil, cover all over, add a dollop of butter, turn the heat up to medium high, and put in the sliced garlic. Saute for about 3 minutes or so, and now you're gonna add the chicken, right? You wanna brown it on all sides, maybe 5 to 8 minutes as you turn it over and you brown it, you know, leaving it all tightened with the toothpick. Now you want to add equal parts of chicken broth and white wine. You want to bring it to a boil. So maybe it's a cup and a cup, right? Reduce the heat to simmer. Partly cover now the skillet and cook for about 15 minutes. Now take the chicken out, put it on a plate, and leave the juice inside the pan. Bring it back to a boil. Now you want to season it with a little bit of salt and pepper. You want to add another dollop of butter and a teaspoon of flour and allow it just to thicken a bit, right? You don't want it really thick. You just want it to thicken a bit. And if it thickens up too much, just add a little bit more chicken broth to it to thin it out, right? When it's done, taste it. Make sure you like it. You want to add the chicken back to that pan now and let the chicken kind of get dressed with all the sauce, right? Now, when you want to serve it, you want to place the chicken on a platter. You want to pour the sauce over the top. You want to make sure you have a mixed green salad to accompany it. You don't need a side of vegetables because the vegetables are already in the chicken, right? You put spinach in there. So if you have a big salad, you got the chicken with the spinach. If anything, maybe you make some garlic herb rice or even some plain white rice if you want, but you don't necessarily need another vegetable. If you want, go ahead, do something yellow, maybe yellow zucchini or maybe butternut squash, something that's going to, kind of make the platter burst with color in any event. It is Friday. It's the last day of October. I'm in San Diego. The weather is spectacular. Until I see you again, take good care.